Well, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and whoever you're lucky enough to be doing it to, with or upon, on Bushka on Blitz, back with a little bit of joy and affection for you human beings who are good enough to come along and take part in the great tanking fiesta that we call Bushka on Blitz, the YouTube channel. Today we're looking at the T110e5. It's in the dress blues, very pretty tank. It is actually a very aesthetically pleasing tank, and by that I mean it looks the goods. It's a Bobby Dazzler, it's a red hot raver. I like the tank. I'll get that out of the way. I do like the tank, and it's good, and it can certainly perform well. It's not my favourite tank to drive at X. In fact, I've been a little bit gun shy with heavies of late, no pun intended. But the E5, for all that, is still a very enjoyable drive, and the more I drove it, the happier I was with it. It's got a lot of utility, and we're going to talk today about the utility. We're going to talk about the mobility, the fact that it's a little bit of everything without being super special in any one particular area, some of the really strong weaknesses of the tank, some of the things that you need to be doing when you're driving it, all that kind of stuff. So this is a patron-sponsored post. There's been a lot of people picking up the ball and running in Patreon, and I salute you. Tomorrow we have a Patreon stream going on where we're going to do a bit of a Q&A, and that's all happy days. But before then, we've got to talk about this. Now, there's something I want to say with the E5, and there's a way to be successful with it, no matter what quality of a driver you are. The way to put it at its best, and you're going to see a common defining factor in all these things. Look at the way I'm on sloped ground at all times. I try to drive this thing on the edges of slopes because, much like the M48A1 pattern and the like, it does very well with sloped areas. It has a strong armour profile. It has a strong turret. It has a pretty strong chassis, in fact, frontally. It's not super strong. It's not like impervious, but it is tough enough that at mid to long range, it's a very tough pen. Now, if you can drive it using the gun depression, which is -8 degrees of gun depression, and that strong turret, you'll be a lot better off because the lower glacis is weak, it's flimsy, the sides are tissue paper, and the rear is a horror show. If you can do that, then you'll find you can really utilize the best skills of this tank, which are excellent gun handling for a heavy tank. Even though the stats don't bear it out, it does seem to do very, very well, and a pretty strong armor profile. You'll get a lot of bounces that you think maybe on other tanks wouldn't be there, but the E5 does it handily, and it's fairly mobile. It's a bit of a hallmark of a lot of the American tanks, is that they're very good utility tanks. The kind of player on a basketball team or a rugby team or something who could fill a couple of positions isn't always going to be tied down to one specific role. It can get out and about enough to follow medium and push the flank. It can be strong enough to hold a line a little bit. It's a bit of a jack of all trades tank, which is a hallmark for a lot of these American tanks. And you need to drive it on hills. I'm going to show you here. I've looked at the teams. I'm pushed along. I've seen that they're probably going to come around and that everyone's pretty quick and is already well across the field. And I'm just telling the world, as in Stealth 251, my platoon mate at the time, that I'm going to hold this area here. And you're going to see this hill, this slope. I'm not going to go all the way down to the bottom of the hill. I'm actually going to stay on the slope, because what happens is the E5 is ideally suited for doing this, and it's something you need to be doing more of. You can hull down on slopes, and it's almost like you're going around a corner backwards and forth as you move forward and backwards on these slopes. Now, we're not going to make a lot of use of it here, but you're going to see in a couple of the videos where we push backwards and forwards, and it's a common denominator for me. If you want to be good with this tank, you've got to get it working on slopes. Now, I want to emphasize that I run everything I can to help the gun handling on this tank. I run vents, I run rammer, and I run a vertical stabilizer. And it does respond very well. The aim time is only 2 seconds, and your 0.35 dispersion is very good. This is you're going to see a lovely shot here on this FV4202. Very, very tough to get that in with most of your Russian heavies or your big derpers. 400 alpha, so it's got solid alpha again, not amazing alpha. 6 rounds per minute, so only 2400 DPM, which is solid but not amazing. 258 millimeters of pen is good, and 340 pen on your heat is actually excellent for a heavy. 37 kilometers an hour, so you're not going to hit the 40 kilometer an hour mark. You're not particularly super quick, but you're fast enough, and you're not like an E100 where you get there slowly. You get there pretty damn quick. And 25 degrees of traverse, 20 degrees of turret traverse. 25 degrees for me is a little bit lacking. People say it's really mobile, but 25 isn't super quick. The 28 on the M103 seems to be the sweet spot for getting around and really keeping up with CODing meds. Again, look where I am. I'm on a slight incline. I'm just going to move backwards and forth on this hill. I hate that. That happens to me all the time. And you see the range we're at. We're kind of medium range here. 150 meters, which is an excellent range to be doing this at. And as you move backwards and forth, you're a hard target. Now, you're going to get penned. That's all there is to it. Every once in a while, you're going to get penned because, for starters, they can see your tumour. And if they hit your tumour, there are parts of the tumour, and by the tumour I mean the machine gun turret on the top of the tank, which are only 180 millimeters worth of armour, 183 millimeters worth of armour. And that's not good. In fact, that's crap. Centurion 7 Mark 1 can penetrate that with its HESH rounds, its premium high explosive rounds. So, you know, there's a lot of tanks out there that went right through. I don't understand how that works. It's hit him and done no damage. I don't get that. Anyway, onwards and upwards. It's good gun handling on this tank. Again, look where I am. I'm on an incline. I'm moving backwards and forth. I am not sitting still so they can pen my turret and the machine gun tumour on top. I am just resetting camo like I would in any tank. It doesn't have to be a medium or a TD. You reset your camo. It always helps to come out with a fresh slate. I might look away. We bounce one and we switch over to the other E100 because he's visible. Put one into his tracks and we're backwards and forwards again. Your armor profile is ideally suited for this kind of wet work. You do not want to be showing them that lower glacis. You do not want to be showing them a lot of your tumour, but you've only got a 2-second aim time, and with V-stab and vents and rations, you really, really, really can do very well. You can see here, poor old PTA, we're going to switch to HE. Oh, we were meant to switch to HE there. I thought I switched to HE. Oh, I switched to heat. What a disaster. It's costing me a lot of money to not do as much damage as I probably would have liked. I do that sometimes. That's abysmal. The gun handling again. Guess where I am? Yeah, on an incline. I'm going to use that gun handling to work the incline, work the ridge, be a bit of a hill fighting tank like most of the Americans with that kind of gun depression. Everything from your super Pershing and your Pershing and your... I mean, it's a great tank. It's fun. It's mobile. It's very much a tank that can take blows and trade blows. You've got enough hit points in the tank to really get out there and be a force. And as you'll see here, we'll take one here as we come over, but we'll get one in very comfortably. Going to back up. With 2 seconds of aim time, you can take quick shots, pull back, and the big derps of this world then have to try to snapshot you. And that can be very tough for them. And it's one of the things that makes this tank really useful. You can be a little bit of a fast twitch player and move backwards and forth. Now, we're going to get hit here. But I want to show you, this tank's pretty tough. We're going to take a lot of hits. And we're just going to retreat at our own pace. We've switched to heat because you can see the rest of the team is on the right. We're basically holding their entire red team over here. Yes. And we're going to get hammered for it. They're coming for us. And they're going to get us. But you can see as we retreat, it makes it hard for them to get shots in on us. Again and again and again. 54, you bugger. We're going to get another one in here on the Object 268. Gun handling is quick enough that you can retreat and put effective fire in at the same time and try and work the hills to stay alive. We're just holding the reds here while the rest of the team moves up. That T-54 is obviously going to come screaming around there. Another one into him. I mean, this impresses me with this tank that it's this tough. We've got enough turn speed to get a shot into him as well. But we've unfortunately run out of options. We've run out of repair kits. We're up into it. We're going to get another one into the object. And we're going to get done. But I think that's a pretty solid return on the investment to hold a team, trade damage, still work backwards down a hill. And because I set myself up on that hill area there and I knew there was somewhere safe to go, I was able to actually return fire and trade hit points, even with 3 or 4 different tanks on me and retreating, because the gun handling is good enough to do that. Now, a couple of quick points on it. The rear of the tank, you have like 50 millimeters of armor on your butt, which is horrific. And good players know that when they see American tanks, T-30s, T110e5s, T110e3s, T-29s, T-32s, M48 patterns, they're all renowned for having this. If you see them and you can get behind them, you switch to HE and you get a full measure of HE into them. And that's a wonderful thing because it's a really, really big damage area. So make sure that if you're going to get hit from behind by a big dirt gun, you at least angle the tank, because if you angle it, I know it sounds silly, but if you angle HE, you'll take less damage. It's simple. Even though you're still going to get penned there, they'll have to pen you with AP. So if you ever do get in a situation like that, try not to let them get an easy shot in, because the difference between angling and not angling can be 30 millimeters of penetration or 40 millimeters of penetration on high explosive rounds. That can completely kill it. Anyway, that's just a minor little thing. Now, you don't want to overextend with it, and the reason for that is because if you have to side scrape in this tank, you can side scrape, but it's very, very thin sides. And the way heat works these days, for whatever reason, they changed the mechanics on it. It was not mentioned particularly, but they certainly appear to have changed the mechanics on it. And this is always going to be a bit of a hope and a prayer shot with most heavies, but the E5 can actually hit that. Your Russian heavies and that, your higher dispersion guns, your slower aim time guns, they can really struggle in things like this. The E5, if you can get it somewhere like this where it's got good side shots and it's strong enough, it's a great gun platform. Now, I carry about 6 or 7 heat for these Tier X matches against the E100s and the like, so I probably should have carried a little bit more here, but we're doing the business for all that. We're using that rock, we're working off it, trying to make sure if they do come around in our left, we've got a flat side for them, which is very, very important. That E100 is going to have to move now, because I've obviously started putting shots in his side. The rest of the team is over there on the right-hand side. I'm alone on this flank again. You might be mistaken for thinking I work alone in this tank. It's not true. And look at it just work and work and work. It's a real workhorse. It can fulfill a number of roles in the battlefield. It's a great platoon mate for any other heavy tank, because it's generally, while not as fast in a straight line as some of them, it's pretty mobile and it's good at turn fighting versus other heavies. I just think it's a really solid tank all round, and I find it hard to fault anything on it, apart maybe from the top speed. I'd love to see it do a little bit better top speed, or maybe have an extra 3 degrees of traverse on its tracks. But for all that, strong, great gun handling, really good gun handling for a heavy. Mobile, solid alpha. 400 alpha is plenty of alpha. I mean, it's not amazing, but it's enough. And you can see how good the gun handling here is for a heavy. It just keeps hitting the bloody tank. It's wonderful. You might note I'm using my Bushka account here for this review for the most part, because I do have the T110e5. It was the first Tier 10 tank I ever owned. And I ground its win rate into the dust. It was under 50% for a long time. And one of the first missions when I finally made 60 on my account I had was to turn the T110e5 into a 50% tank again, and I did that comfortably. We're on the way upwards and onwards from there. So thank you very much for watching, guys. The E5, long overdue recap on this tank. I think it's a Bobby Dazzler. I think you should enjoy it, and if you're ever, I mean, it's not as flashy as a lot of the other tanks you're going to see out there, the T62As, the Object 140s, but if you're looking for a solid line to grind down and you're a new player, the American heavy line is absolutely fantastic. The T29, the T32, the M103, the T110e5, because what they do is bring a solid play style that you can take from one tank to the next, and as you progress down that line and go hull down and learn how to use gun depression, you can play exactly the same from one tank to the next, and it allows you to become more comfortable in the game and have something you might call a go-to move, like a gun depression heavy with a big turret that you learn to angle and you learn to move backwards and forwards. And that's important because it's how I got to play the game, and it's the first thing I did was jump onto those American heavies and go hull down. And and it's certainly something you can do in the T29, the 32, and the E5 and the 103 to your heart's content. Now, as you get to 9 and 10, they become slightly less tough, but they are still, for all that, very strong turrets. Not 100% impenetrable, but I mean, you're not going to find much at Tier X that is 100% impenetrable anyway. I'm Bushka on Blitz. It's a patron-sponsored post. I hope you've been enjoying the streams, the content, all the malarkey. There are a lot of things. The Panzer 100 review coming very, very shortly. Whole heap of stuff coming. So until next time, boys and girls, stay safe on the battlefield.